was subject to the most dreadfully destructive tempers. Inbred, you know.
Yes, she must have been.
My control was quite frightened of her the other night. I could hear it in her voice. She is, after all, only a child.
Do you always have a child as a control?
Oh, yes, I find them the best. Some mediums prefer Indians, of course, but I find them very undependable.
In what way undependable?
Well, for one thing, at the slightest difficulty, they're apt to revert into their native tongue, which is naturally unintelligible, and it spoils everything and wastes a great deal of time. No, children are the best, especially when they get to know you and your ways. Daphne has worked well for me for years.
And she still goes on being a child? She doesn't show signs of growing any older?
Time values on the other side are quite different than our own.
Do you feel funny when you go off into a trance?
How do you mean? Funny?
Mrs. Bradman didn't mean funny in its comic implication. I think she meant odd or strange.
The word was a very unfortunate choice.
I'm sure I'm very sorry.
It doesn't matter, really.
When did you first discover that you had these extraordinary powers?
Oh, when I was quite small. My mother was a medium before me, you know, so I had every opportunity to, say, get in on the ground floor. I had my first trance when I was 4, and my first protoplasmic manifestation when I was 5 and a half. Ah, what an exciting day that was! I shall never forget it. Of course, the manifestation was very small and of very short duration, but for a child of my tender years, it was most gratifying.
Your mother must have been so pleased.
Oh, she was.
Can you foretell the future?
Certainly not. I disapprove of fortune-telling most strongly.
Oh, really? Why?
Oh, too much guesswork and fate mixed up with it. Even when the gift is genuine, and it very rarely is, you can't count on it.
Why not?
Time again. Time is the reef upon which all our misted ships are wrecked.
You mean because it has never yet been proven that the past and the present and the future are not one and the same thing?
I have long ago come to the conclusion that nothing can be definitely proved about anything.
How very wise. Edith, we don't want to be disturbed for the next hour or so for any reason whatsoever.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Yes.
And if anyone should telephone, just say that we are out and take a message.
Yes.
Unless it's an urgent call for George, of course.
Unless it's an urgent call for Dr. Bradman.
Yes.
There's not likely to be one, is there?
No, I don't think so.
One time off it won't matter. But an interruption in the preliminary stages could prove disastrous.
I do wish the men would hurry up. I'm terribly excited.
Please don't be. It makes everything ever so much more difficult.
Well, Madam Arcot, the time is drawing near.
Who knows? Perhaps it is receding.
How very true.
I hope you feel in the mood, Madam Arcati.
It isn't a question of mood, Doctor. It's a question of concentration.
You must forgive us our impatience. We can perfectly easily wait, though, if you're not quite ready to start.
Nonsense, I'm perfectly ready. Hi-ho, to work we go.
Is there anything you'd like us to do?
Do?
To hold hands or something.
Oh, all in good time. First, a few breaths of fresh air at the window. You may talk amongst yourselves. It won't disturb me at all. Oh, dear. Oh.
An excellent dinner, I must congratulate you,
The moose wasn't quite right.
darling. It looked a bit hysterical, but it tasted delicious.
That cuckoo is very angry.
I beg your pardon.
That cuckoo is very angry. Listen.
How can you tell?
Tombra. There's no moon, that's as well. There's mist rising from the marsh need for me to light my bicycle lamp, is there? No one will trip over it.
Oh no, we're not expecting anybody else.
Good night, you foolish bird. You have a table?
Yes, we thought that one would do.
I think the one with the drinks on it would be better.
Change over.
You told Edith we didn't want to be disturbed?
Yes, darling. This is the moment I always hate.
Are you nervous?
When I was a girl, I always used to be sick.
Children are always much more prone to being sick than grown-ups, though, aren't they? I know I could never travel on a train with any degree of safety until I was 14.
Little Tommy Tucker sings for his supper. What shall he have but brown bread and butter? I despise that because it doesn't rhyme at all. But Daphne loves it.
Who's Daphne?
Daphne is Madame Arcotti's control. She's a little girl.
How old is she?
Rising 7 when she died.
And when was that?
February the 6th, 1884.
Poor little thing.
She's a bit long in the tooth by now, I should think.
You should think, Doctor, but I'm afraid you do not. At least, not profoundly enough.
Do be quiet, George, and put Madame Arcotti off.
Oh, it's no matter. I understand skeptics. They generally turn out to be the most vulnerable and receptive in the long run.
You'd better take that warning to heart, Dr. Bradman.
Please forgive me, Madam Arcoti. I want to assure you that I'm deeply interested.
It makes no difference. Please, will you all sit down at the table and put your hands downward upon it?
What about the lights?
Oh, I'll get them all in good time. The fingers should be touching. Or anyone else. She likes the tune she can hum to. Always.
Always?
Do sit down, Charles. What is the matter?
Nothing. Nothing's the matter.
The light switches by the bookcase?
Yes, all except the small one on the table and the gramophone.
I see.
Charles, do keep still.
Fingers touching, George. Remember what Madame Arcotti said.
Now then, there are one or two things that I should like to explain before we begin. Are we all ready to listen attentively?
Of course.
Presently, I shall start the music. I shall then turn out the lights. I may walk around the room for a bit, or I may lay down flat. After a bit, I shall come and sit down here in this little stool, Mr. Connemine, in between you and Mr. Dr. Bradman. I will then lay my hands gently upon yours. I should ask you, please, not to address me or be disruptive in any way. Is that clear?
Perfectly.
Okay. Now, of course, I cannot guarantee that anything will happen. Daphne may be unavailable. She had a cold recently and was rather under the weather. On the other hand, a great many things might happen. One of you might have an emanation, for instance, or we might contract a poltergeist, which would be very destructive and noisy.
In what way destructive?
Why, they throw things, you know.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
But we shall have to cross that bridge when we come to it, shan't we?
Oh, certainly. By all means.
Fortunately, an elemental at this time of year is very unlikely.
What do elementals do?
Why, they're very unpredictable, but they usually present as a very cold wind.
I don't think I shall like that.
Sometimes even reaching hurricane velocity.
You don't think it might be a good idea to take the more breakable ornaments off the mantelpiece before we start?
Really, Mrs. Connemine, that won't be necessary. Believe me, I have my own way of dealing with elementals.
I'm so glad.
Now then, are we all ready to clear our minds?
You mean we're to think of nothing?
Absolutely nothing. The best way is to think of an indistinct spot or a color. That's the best way.
I'll do my damnedest.
Good job. And now the music, and away we go.
Fingers touching, George. Remember what Madame Arcadi said.
Quiet, please. Is there anyone there? Is there anyone there? One rap for yes, two raps for no. Is there anyone there?
Oh, dear.
Shh. Is that you, Daphne? Is your cold better, dear? Oh, are you doing anything for it? I'm afraid she's rather fretful. Is there anyone there who wishes to speak to anyone here? Oh, we're getting somewhere. Oh, Daphne! Oh, Blithe! Oh, you heard him, Miss Dog. Oh, yeah, that's a good girl. You say there's someone there who wishes to speak to someone here? Ah, is it I? Is it Dr. Bradman? Is it Mrs. Bradman? Is it Mrs. Condamine? No, Daphne, behave yourself. Is it Mr. Condamine? Ah, there's someone there who wishes to speak to you, Mr. Condamine.
Tell him to leave a message.
I must ask you not to be flippant, Mr. Condamine.
Charles, how can you be so idiotic? You spoil everything.
Sorry, it slipped out.
Do you know anyone who has passed over recently?
Well, not recently. There was my cousin in the civil service, but he wouldn't be likely to want to communicate with me. We hadn't spoken in years.
Are you Mr. Condine's cousin in the civil service? You've drawn a blank. Can you think of anyone else? Rack your brain.
It might be old Mrs. Plummet. You know, she died on Whit Monday.
Can't imagine why old Mrs. Plummet would want to talk to me. We had very little in common.
It's worth a try anyhow.
Are you old Mrs. Plummet?
She was very deaf. Perhaps you'd better shout.
Are you old Mrs. Plummet? There's no one there.
How disappointing. Just as we were getting along so nicely.
Oh, Violet, be quiet.
Well, there's nothing for it, but I must go into a trance. I had hoped to avoid because they're so exhausting, but what must be, must be. Excuse me while I start the music again.
Not always. Don't play always again.
Why ever not, Charles? Don't be absurd.
Oh, I'm afraid we must. We couldn't change horses in the middle of the stream, you know, as you might say.
Well, have it your own way then.
Little Tommy Tucker sings for his supper. What shall he have but brown bread and butter?
That must be Daphne, but she ought to have her adenoids out.
George, please. It's trying to get away. I can't hold it. Ought we to pick it up or leave it where it is?
How the hell do I know?
There's no need to snap at me.
Leave it where it is.
Who said that?
Who said what?
Somebody said leave it where it is.
Oh, nonsense, dear.
Well, I heard it distinctly.
Nobody else did they?
I never heard a sound.
It's you, Ruth. You're playing tricks.
I'm not doing anything of the sort. I haven't uttered.
Good evening, Charles.
certainly didn't.
Neither did I. I wish I had. I'd love to hear something.
It's you, Charles. You're acting to try to frighten us.
I'm not. I swear I'm not.
It's difficult to think of what to say after 7 years. But I suppose good evening is as good as anything else.
Who are you?
Elvira, of course. Don't be silly.
I can't stand this for another minute. Everybody up. The entertainment's over.
Oh, Charles, how tiresome you are, just as we were beginning to enjoy ourselves. What on earth is the matter with you?
Nothing's the matter. I'm just sick of the whole business, that's all.
You mean you heard any? Did you hear anything that we didn't hear? Really?
No, I was only joking.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, dear. Look at Madame Arcadi.
Oh, what are we to do with her?
Bring her round. Bring her round as soon as possible.
I suggest we leave her alone.
Oh, but she might stay like that for hours.
No, she's out all right.
Bring her round. It's dangerous to leave her like that.
Oh, really, Charles, you are behaving most peculiarly.
Wake up, Madame Arcadi. Wake up. It's time to go home.
Here, go easy, old man.
Help me, Brandon. Get some brandy. Give her some brandy. Wake up, Madame Arcadi. Little Tommy Tucker. Help me, Brandon.
Here's the brandy.
She's coming around.
Careful, Charles, you're spilling it all down her dress.
Well, that's that.
Are you all right?
Certainly. Never felt better in my life.
Would you like some more brandy?
Oh, so that's the funny taste in my mouth. Imagine giving me brandy. Dr. Brandy, you should have known better. Brandy on top of a trance would have been disastrous. Take it away. I shan't sleep a wink at all tonight as it is.
I know I shan't.
Why on earth not?
The whole business has unhinged me.
Well, what happened? Was it satisfactory?
Nothing much happened, Madame Arcadi, after you went off.
Oh, something happened, all right. I felt it. No poltergeist at any rate. Any apparition?
Not a thing.
No protoplasm?
I don't quite know what it is, but I don't think so.
Strange. I feel as though something tremendous had happened.
Charles pretended he heard a voice in order to frighten us.
It was only a joke.
Oh, a very poor one, if I may say. Still, I'm prepared to swear that there is someone else in this room with psychic powers besides myself.
I don't see how there can be really, Madame Arcadi.
I hope I haven't gone and concocted something, but we should know in a day or two. If you should see any manifestations or hear any strange noises, I would appreciate it if you would contact me at once.
Oh, of course we will. We'll telephone immediately.
Really now, I think I ought to be on my way.
Wouldn't you like anything before you go?
Oh no, I have some Ovaltine in a saucepan on the stove. It only needs hotting on it.
Wouldn't you like to leave your bicycle here? Let us drive you?
I honestly do think you should, Madame Arcadi. After that trance and everything, you can't be feeling quite yourself.
Oh, nonsense. I feel fit as a fiddle. Trance always rejuvenates me. Good night, Mrs. Carmine.
It was awfully sweet of you to take so much trouble.
Oh, no. I'm just so sorry that so little happened. It must be that cold of Daphne's. You know how children are when they have the least bit wrong with them. We really ought to try it again another evening.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Good night, Mrs. Carmine.
Good night. It was thrilling. It really was. I felt the table absolutely shaking under my hands.
Good night, Doctor.
Congratulations, Madame Arcadi.
I am quite aware of the irony in your voice. But in fact, I think you would make an admirable candidate for telepathic hypnosis. A great chum of mine is an expert, and I should like to have her look you over.
I'm sure I should be charmed.
Well, good night, everyone. Next time, we really must put our backs into it.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Be careful, Mrs.
shoots a more original line than they generally do.
I should think she's probably half convinced herself by now.
Possibly. The trance was certainly genuine, but that's easily accounted for.
Hysteria.
Yes, a form of hysteria, I would imagine.
I do hope Mr. Condamine got all the atmosphere he needed for his book.
He might have gotten a great deal more if he hadn't spoiled everything by showing off. I really am very cross with him. I suddenly felt a draft. There must be a window open.
No, they're all shut.
Perhaps it was one of those, what you may call them, that Madame Arcadi was talking about.
Elementals!
Oh, no, it couldn't be. She distinctly said that it was the wrong time of the year for elementals.
Well, the old girl's not pedaling off down the drive at the help of speed. We had a little trouble lighting her lamp.
Poor thing.
You know, I've got a theory about her. I believe she's completely sincere.
Oh, Charles, how could she be?
Well, wouldn't it be possible, Doctor, some form of self-hypnotism?
It might be. As I was trying to explain to your wife just now, there's certain types of hysterical subjects.
George, dear, it's getting very late. We really must be getting home. You have to get up so early in the morning.
The moment I want to talk about something that truly interests me, my wife interrupts me.
You know I'm right, darling. It's past 11.
I'll do some reading up on the whole business, just for the fun of it.
You must have a drink before you go.
No, actually, Violet's quite right. I have to get up abominably early tomorrow morning. I have a patient being operated on in Canterbury.
It was a thrilling evening. I shall never forget. Thank you so much for including us.
My pleasure.
Good night, Mrs. Conline. Thank you so much.
You're sure about that drink?
Quite sure, thanks.
We'll let you know if we find any poltergeists whirling about.
I should never forgive you if you didn't.
Come on, darling.
Well, darling,
Well,
would you say the evening had been profitable?
yes, I suppose so.
Oh, I must say, it was extremely funny at moments.
It certainly was.
What's the matter?
The matter?
Yes, you seem odd somehow. Do you feel quite well?
Perfectly. I think I'll have a drink. You want one?
Oh, no, thank you, dear.
Awfully chilly in this room.
Oh, come over by the fire.
I don't think I'll make any notes tonight. I'll wait until morning when I'm fresh. My gosh!
Charles!
That was very clumsy, Charles dear.
Elvira! Then it's true. It was you.
Of course it was.
Charles, darling! Charles, what are you talking about?
Are you a ghost?
I suppose I must be. It's all very confusing.
What do you keep looking over there for? Look at me. What's happened?
Wait, don't you see?
See what?
Elvira!
Elvira?
Yes! Elvira, dear, this is Ruth. Ruth, this is Elvira.
Come and sit down, darling.
You mean you can't see her?
Charles, listen, you just sit down quietly by the fire, and I'll mix you another drink. Don't worry about the mess on the carpet. Edith can clean it up in the morning.
But you must be able to see her. She's right there, right in front of you.
Are you mad? What's happened to you?
You can't see her.
Listen, Charles, here, I'll get you another drink.
But, what am I to do? What the hell am I to do?
Well, I think you might be at least a little more pleased to see me. After all, you conjured me up.
I did no such thing. I did nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. Of course you did. That awful child with the cold came to see me and said you wanted to see me urgently.
It's all a mistake, a horrible mistake.
Stop talking like that. This joke has gone far enough, Charles. Here's your drink.
I've gone mad. That's it. I've just gone raving mad.
Relax.
How can I relax? I'll never be able to relax again as long as I live.
Drink some brandy.
There, are you satisfied?
Now sit down.
Why are you so anxious for me to sit down? What good will that do?
I want you to relax. You can't relax standing up.
African natives can. They could stand on one leg for hours.
Well, I don't happen to be an African native.
You don't happen to be a what?
An say no more about it. See, I've sat down.
Would you like some more brandy?
Yes, please.
Very unwise. You always had a weak head.
I could drink you under the table.
There's no need to be aggressive, Charles. I'm doing my best to help you.
Sorry, darling.
Here, drink this.
Get rid of her, Charles. Then we can talk in peace.
It's a thoroughly immoral suggestion. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
What is there immoral in that?
I wasn't talking to you.
Who were you talking to then?
Elvira, of course.
To hell with Elvira.
There now, she's getting cross.
Well, I don't blame her.
What don't you blame her for?
Oh, gosh.
Listen, Charles, I gather you've got some sort of plan behind all this. I'm not quite a fool. I suspected you when we were doing that idiotic sale.
Well, don't be silly. What sort of plan do I have?
I don't know. It's probably something to do with the characters in your novel. How they or one of them would react to a certain situation. I refuse to be used as a guinea pig unless I'm warned beforehand what it's all about.
Ruth, Elvira is here. She's laying on the sofa.
Oh, yes, dear. I can see her distinctly on the sofa with a horse.
Ruth!
I'm not going to stand here arguing any longer. Hooray!
Oh, shut up.
How dare you talk to me like that? I will not listen to any more of this nonsense. I am going up to bed now. I shall leave you to turn out the lights. I shan't be asleep. I'm too upset. So you can come in and say good night to me if you feel like it.
Well, that's big of her, I must say.
Oh, be quiet. You're behaving like a gutter snipe.
That is all I have to say. Good night, Charles.
But Ruth!
That was one of the most enjoyable half hours I have ever spent.
Oh, Elvira, how could you?
Poor Ruth.
This is obviously a hallucination, isn't it?
I'm afraid I don't know the technical term for it.
What am I to do?
Why don't you relax, like Ruth suggested?
Now, where have you come from?
You know, it's kind of peculiar, but I've sort of forgotten.
Are you here to stay indefinitely?
I don't know that either.
Oh, God.
Why? Would you hate it so much if I did?
Well, you must admit, it would be embarrassing.
I don't see why, really. It's just a matter of adjusting yourself. Anyhow, I think it's horrid of you to be so unwelcoming and disagreeable.
Well, try to see it from my point, dear. I mean, I've been married to Ruth for 5 years. You've been dead for 7.
It's not dead, Charles. It's passed over. It's considered vulgar to say dead where I come from.
Well, passed over then.
At any rate, now that I'm here, the least you could do is make a pretense of being amiable about it.
Well, of course, and I'm delighted in one way.
I don't believe you love me anymore.
I'll always love the memory of you.
You mustn't think me unreasonable, but I really am a little hurt. You called me back, and at a great inconvenience I came, and you've been thoroughly churlish ever since I arrived.
Believe me, Elvira, I most definitely did not send for you. There's been some mistake.
Well, somebody did, and that child said it was you. I remember I was playing backgammon with a sweet old Oriental gentleman. I believe his name was Genghis Khan. I just thrown double sixes, and that child paged me. The next thing I knew, I was in this room. Perhaps it was your subconscious.
Well, you must find out if you're going to stay or not, and we can make arrangements accordingly.
Well, I don't see how I can.
Well, there must be somebody over there on the other side, or whatever you call it, that you could get in touch with who could advise you.
I can't think. It all seems so far away, like I dreamed it.
Well, you must know someone besides Genghis Khan.
Oh, Charles.
What's the matter?
I feel like I want to cry, but I'm not able to.
Why do you want to cry?
It's seeing you again, and you being so irascible like you always used to be.
Well, I don't mean to be irascible.
I don't mind, darling. I never did, really.
Is it cold, being a ghost?
No, I don't think so.
What happens if I touch you?
I don't think you can. Do you want to?
Oh, no, I
What is it, darling?
I feel so strange seeing you again.
That's better.
What's better?
Your voice is kinder.
Was I ever unkind when you were alive?
Often.
Oh, I'm sure that's an exaggeration.
Not at all. You were an absolute pig that time you went to Cornwall and stayed in that awful hotel. You hit me with a billiard cue.
Only very, very gently.
I love you so very much.
Oh, I love you too. I can't touch you. Isn't that horrible?
Perhaps it's for the best if I'm going to stay any length of time.
I feel strangely peaceful. I suppose I shall wake up eventually.
Put your head back.
Like this?
Do you feel anything?
Only a very slight breeze in my hair.
Well, that's better than nothing.
I suppose if I really am out of my mind, they'll put me in an asylum.
Don't worry about that. Just relax.
Poor Ruth.
To hell